Okay, how did I meet Tanner Gary II?
Okay, how we met? This is how we were from Little Rock, Arkansas. So I had a choir.
My uncle took me to a rehearsal with him. I didn't go to get into the choir. Okay.
My uncle thought it would be great to come by and audition.
Why do I have to audition? All these other people didn't have to. So
she auditioned, and I saw her. So after rehearsal, I asked her uncle. I said, "Who is that right there?" She said, "That's my niece." Well, give her my number for me. He sent the message, and she said,
I don't do that. Like, if he want to give me his number, then he needs to come and tell me himself. Why you sending messages through you? I don't understand that. That's what I told him.
I said, okay. So went over there, gave her a number, we talked or whatever.
And I was like, I don't like church men. Like, I was not interested at all. Used to dating.
The roughnecks.
The drug dealer.
Rough riders.
So buy me this, buy me that.
The gangsters. And I was a church gangster, I'll say that. But me being a persistent person, I knew, I liked her, and she was different from what I had been dating.
At the time that I met him, I was not in a place where I really even wanted to be in a relationship with anyone. I have been through a lot of very bad relationships, and so at the time I was like, no, I don't want that. But what happened was,
she worked at this haircutting place. It's I can't think of the name.
Pro Cuts. And his church was in the same area as where I was working, and he walked in the door one day. I guess he must have saw me get out of my car and go into my job.
And that was kind of convenient. That was God. That's what it was.
So he came every day. So every day he came to my job. He basically wore me down.
So we got to talking, and things got a little deep.
He literally came in a package that I hadn't been used to. For him to even come and show interest in me and just wear me down with conversation, it's literally like he wanted to know everything about me. We would talk for hours, because it was like a Caucasian haircut place in the middle of a black neighborhood, so nobody hardly ever came there. And so it went from that to he would come over. One time he came over and he was like, you don't cook, huh?
She was not a cooker. She didn't have a lot of food in the house, and she had a 2-year-old.
I was like, no. Do you ever smell any chicken when you come in here? Do you ever see any pots on the stove?
I would come over, bring groceries, and just cook.
And oh my gosh, he could really cook. Like, that got me too. He snuck that in on me. But we developed a friendship, which I think is just so important. We became very, very good friends. And over time, I began to really like him, because I did not like him. It was just how we just were divinely put together at the same places at the same times, not even knowing it, and then just to come back around and start dating. And one of the things that made me really know that he was for me is how he treated my son. He had a son as well, and so we kind of both had that conversation, like, okay, we need to see how this person gonna treat my child, because if you can't accept from my child, then we're done anyway.
And it kind of got frequent, and so we ended up together dating. And
yeah, but one of the things that we did do, we did not have sex until we got married. So that was like a commitment that we made when we started dating. That was kind of something that I just said out the door. I hope you don't think you get none, because that's not happening. I think I really initially said it as like a scare tactic. Like, I thought, maybe if I say this, then he gonna be like, okay. After a while, like a year had went by, and he was okay with that. Like, he was still around. I was like, oh, I might need to keep him. So
and I asked her to marry me, and she did. She said yes. So that's the story, and that's what I'm sticking to. That's how we met.
to It's a Covenant Thing. Today we have guest couple, Kenya and Tanner Gary. So let's welcome them to Kingdom Love. Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. And today we're going to talk about covenant relationships.
Covenant relationships are huge, huge, huge. So really when you're in relationships and as soon as something pops up that you don't like or this or that, you're ready to just quit and cut it off. And we're going to discern between situations where you need to cut ties or the situations where you need to look deeper and see if you guys can make it through it.
So, it brings me to our first question. What is a covenant relationship? I know a lot of people think of covenant in the form of marriage, but covenant relationships are at every different level of our lives. So, I'll hand it over to Tanner and Kenya to talk about what a covenant relationship is. What is a covenant?
Just even when you just said that, I thought about like the word covenant came to mind. When you say cover and then a net is something that it shields you, it protects you, and even a net is something that captures you, a covering that constantly catches you. And I say that because we have been through situations where we've had to each cover each other or catch each other, right? A lot of times what happens, people get into covenant relationships and you think, okay, well, this is just a piece of paper, this is just something that we're doing for the time, and then I'll just break it if it doesn't do right. But I just believe that we have to simplify things and not make it to where it's so difficult for people to understand. What am I doing? I'm getting into covenant. Like, what is that? I'm getting into something where we are pledging to cover each other and to catch each other.
Covenant is not just, being covered here in a net, like she said, but it's being able to expand or enlarge with the whole relationship, because there's going to be times to where your relationship or your marriage or whatever the covenant is, it's going to get big and it's going to be heavy, and some things are going to be kind of falling out, and that's when the net comes. But it's able to expand and grow with your relationship.
Yeah.
Wow, so that was good. Cover net. I'll never think about covenant the same.
Ever.
Cover net. So that brings me to our next question. How is a covenant formed? Do we go to the courthouse and we have to sign an agreement? How is a covenant formed?
I think one of the first things that you have to do is pray. I think a lot of times we connect real frivolously with people. We call everybody friend. You have to go into prayer and really seek the Lord for instruction. Not necessarily if this is the right person, because God gives us free will. But I believe in asking the Lord for instruction, for guidance, for strategy, if you will, on how I need to approach this. And so once you have, prayed about it and got some guidelines that you desire, stick to that. And once you have that, then you when you get into relationships, you get into different things with people, you don't compromise what your strategy is, if you will, or you don't compromise what your standards are as it relates to getting into this relationship. Because covenant is not just something that you can just get in and out of. We get in and out of bed, we go to and from work, right? But this is not something that you can just, I'm doing it this day and then the next day I'm done with it. It's a heart thing.
I would call it a peace factor. If you can't find peace in the whole process, run. Because that you have to have peace in order for you to move forward. You can't just begin to say, okay, well, like you said, you compromise and say, well, he got 2 of the 3 or 4 of the 3, 4 of the 6 or whatever it is. I can just kind of go back, no, find peace, get peace, and move forward.
Here's the thing, when you're getting into covenant, that covenant says that we are going to work toward purpose, what we're placed in this earth to do. First of all, if they're not going to help push you into your purpose and you be able to push them into their purpose, then that's a sign right there.
You should be able to enhance each other.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time. Well, he completes me, or he no, you should be complete when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just bringing enhancement to what you already have.
Yes.
You can
Enhancement.
you can do upgrades. You can call it upgrades.
Great.
But she's already complete,
Yes.
already finished.
Yes.
See, sometimes we go into relationships half done, attributed to like Nike and Michael Jordan. Nike was an already established company. Michael Jordan was already an established NBA star. They were already complete.
Yeah.
But then they brought it together. Now look where it is.
And made it a conglomerate.
Made it a conglomerate. Now look where it is.
Oh,
It's the
that's
most
I like that.
major shoe company in the world. So, you gotta look at that.
Wow, thank you so much for that. That was awesome. Next question is, when single in those relationships that you're seeking, what are some of those red flags that would pop up that you definitely would want to run from?
So, a couple of red flags that I kind of think about when I think about that question. Number one, truth. You gotta be truthful. You gotta be open, honest, because if something else comes up, and I can be transparent, there were some things I wasn't honest about in our relationship, and it came back to haunt me. I think God, even in the covenant, that's where the covering came in, and she was able to cover me in the midst of that situation, and we made it through. So, being honest, being upfront. If they're not that, run.
Everybody needs to run. They tell me everybody to run.
What you think?
I like that truth, but I think another red flag would probably be if you're single female and you've been dating a guy and you've never met his parents, you've never met anyone in his family. That is a red flag. I'm telling you from experience, okay? I was dating this guy. We had been dating for a while, and I had never ever even met.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you, babe. I never ever met his parents. I had never met anyone in his family, but we were spending a lot of time together. And he ended up going on a break, like, you know how you just be like, oh, I'm not talking to you. And then he ended up marrying somebody else. So that let me know that all this time I was a secret and she was the girlfriend that was going around meeting the family. But people have glorified the side chick name. That's not cute. And I think the same for males too. If a woman that you're dating, you haven't met anybody, you haven't met her friends, you haven't met her family, she hiding you, bro.
Oh, wow, love.
You're not it. Red flag number 2. All y'all do is text and you don't never talk on the phone. That is a red flag. Why you can't pick up the phone and call me? I think that's degrading at a point. Don't allow someone to think that it's okay for me to just send you a cyber message and I not give you my personal self.
Right. If I can't call you at 9 o'clock and you pick up the phone at your desk at your job, I want to have to do with you.
What happened? 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. in the morning.
Make sure she got a job.
I want to make sure you got a job.
You said 9 a.m. What you gonna get to work till 10?
Okay, 10 o'clock, whenever you get to work.
Call me from, not your cell phone, call me from your office.
From your office.
From your desk phone.
Yes. Because, and I'm gonna tell you why, because you got these younger ladies, they will portray an older age. And then underage, 17, 16 years old, looking like you are 22, 23, 24 years old. And it's like, dude, I thought she was 25. She ain't but 16.
Ooh.
Oh, trouble.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, that's
So,
a good one though.
If you can't call me from your desk phone, between the 9 and 10 o'clock hour.
Oh my God. Okay, how many red flags was that?
That's 3.
I think I have another, but I just thought about this. So if you want to go on a vacation and they can't get no passport, that's a red flag. See, no, not the cruises now, because you can go on a cruise with your birth certificate.
Okay, you're right.
You don't need no passport. Don't let them fool you with the cruise. Because that means that something is not quite right. If the United States of America will not issue them a passport, that's a red Yes. What's another? This is if he can't answer the phone and talk to his baby mama while y'all are together, that is a red flag. Because why does he need to go outside and get in the car and talk to his children's mother? Or you texting and you got to turn over to the side to text? That is a red flag. It goes back to the first red flag of truth. You got to be honest with the people, and you got to expect honesty from the people that you're getting into covenants and relationships with. I don't want your lies. I need your truth. Or if y'all, every time y'all go somewhere, you the one that always pay. And this for men and women, because sometimes after you've been in a relationship for so long, you've been dating for a year, ladies, sometimes you can pay. I mean, you done vetted him in, y'all been dating a year, you can pay sometimes. But what I'm talking about is if you got to pay every time, ladies, or if she can't call you at your job. I'm back to the job, the desk. Like, are you working, sir? Like, can I call your desk phone and see if you at work? Let's meet for lunch. I'm going to meet you at your job so that I can see where you work at. If you can't tell me where you work, that is a red flag. If I can't come and meet you at your job so that we can go to lunch together sometime, that is a red flag. He ain't got no job.
Man, you know how I do.
And here's the last one for all the Christians, okay, all the believers. When you take them to church and you are a worshiper and they don't worship, they don't even say hallelujah. Now, I'm not expecting for you to go into this big grand worship assembly, okay? But every now and then, you can lift a hand or two. Every now and then, you can clap, or you can witness to the preacher and say hallelujah or amen or preach doc. You need to be able to say something. If you sitting in church with me, like you ain't never experienced, because the power of God is so amazing that the Bible said the rocks will cry out, right? And so you got to make a sign or something. You got to have a sign. Even if you just shake, if you can't do nothing else, if you just rock or something, or after the service and we have a conversation and I say, well, what did you get out of the service? And you can't tell me because you was on your phone the whole time. That is a red flag. Single believers, they are not interested in your God. They just came because you made them. They just came because you said this is what I do, and I just came just to appease you. But you can't just go by appeasement anymore. Like, you got to see that right away, and then
Right.
I think I'm done with the red flags.
Okay.
Wow. So, last question. What if your significant other, you're in a relationship, and you guys find out that you have two totally different beliefs? I like this person, they're awesome, but they don't believe in God. You don't love God?
God, what's wrong with you?
Hey, stop. But in those real life situations where you really like this person, they're awesome, y'all talk all day long, but you find out that you guys are on two different patterns as far as religious beliefs or beliefs in general. So, what do you do in those situations?
That's another red flag. Even before, if you guys don't have the same belief and you asking God to send you somebody, and they're not believing in the same God that you do and all of that, run. Another reason to run. Because down the line, if you think you're going to change them, you're not. Because it took a lot for them to even believe that way. So how are you going to be able to change them? Or let's do this. Let's go back. If you really like this guy or this girl, whoever he is or she is, and you really, really want to be on the next level, and they're meeting most of the standards, live a life before them, so much so to where they're going to ask questions and say, what are you doing?
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Right.
Yeah.
And I believe that you can, I believe that can be done.
Yeah.
To live your life in such a way to where they ask questions and want to inquire about your God.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important for you to be around that person enough to know, so that you can see the interactions.
Right.
So it can't just be FaceTiming and we're messengers and Snapchats and all of these things, and we're not having those personal encounters. People are getting into relationships now from online dating, and you haven't really met that person a lot. But I think that in order for that to even come up, you're gonna have to have some interaction with each other, face to face, and just get to know that person. I do believe that God will give you grace. He gives people grace to be able to save and deliver people out of the things that they're entangled in. And entanglement can be in religion, but I believe that you can live a life before them, but I would not marry them still trying to live a life before them, because that's your standard. This is what I'm going to church these days. Now they don't have to do the same things that you do, but you do need to believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You do need to recognize that Jesus died and we rose again, right? And he walked the earth even after he resurrected. Like, that person needs to believe those things. Now, if we have just a difference of opinion in the Bible as far as like Revelation goes, and I believe this way, I don't think that that's so much of a hindrance as if you believe in Muhammad and you worship in grass and the sun and all of that. That's like, it's some stuff that God ain't gave you the grace to do that. Don't do that.
Tanner and Kenya have their own couples ministry called Power Couple Ministries. It's a couples coaching ministry for those in relationships as well as married. So I wanted to give them some time to talk about their ministry, what it's about, and how you can contact them to be coached.
Okay, so we actually have a ministry called Power Couple Ministries. We do couples coaching. You don't have to be married, and we basically coach about life principles, things that you can apply to your marriage strategies. Well, a lot of times, especially in church, we know how to do church, but we don't know how to do life. We just come together and develop different strategies, different homework plans, different things that you can do to enhance your marriage. We mostly cater to those people that are in ministry and they're working alongside each other in ministry, and those that maybe one person is heavier in ministry than the other. We try to come in and teach people how to create an atmosphere in your marriage. That's one of the things that we talk about, is creating an atmosphere in your marriage. And we think atmosphere is just about the worship that we produce and different things like that, but there must be also an atmosphere in your home for your marriage. And so that's one of the key things that we talk about. We talk about the different decisions that you make in life, and how sometimes people have these stages of marriage where one person may be growing in an area and other person is growing in a different area, and it may look like you're going in different directions. But if we learn how to meet each other in the middle of that and have conversations. So we talk about the importance of communication in relationships.
I have had an awesome time. We have had an awesome time of just learning and digging into you guys. We definitely appreciate y'all being here today.
Yes.
So much information. Awesome stuff. What's going to be next for us, man?
So May 29th is our next episode, and it's going to be about single and waiting and dating with a purpose. We're going to have 3 guest panelists, in which we'll reveal them later, but we will have them on talking about these different topics and questions about those topics. So in the meantime, drop comments, drop questions in the comment section about what you want us to hit on related to that topic, and also share, subscribe, and follow us on all social media outlets. We really appreciate it.
Big time, big time. One last thing. I want y'all to get into those comments and show us your biggest red flags that you've either experienced or that you could think would be a huge issue, okay? I want to see these. These are going to be hilarious, for sure.
So without further ado, we will send you guys off and see you in 2 weeks. May 29th, tune in, share, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. God bless.
Peace.